Hello, future warriors, and welcome back to SSB Crack Exams. I'm Heyman, and I'm back here to discuss with you about the recently conducted AFCAT 1 2021 examination. And here I am going to discuss about those questions that were asked regarding the general awareness sections, question and answers regarding AFCAT 1 2021. This is regarding the questions that are asked in both the shifts that are conducted on 21st of February 2021. And this was very interesting part that I have to consider. Whatever questions that we have got it from the various different social media platforms from wherever students are following us, and a lot of students have given us about whatever questions they have faced. So we have collected all of those questions together, and we are giving you some of the important answers for them. So we hope that whatever we are trying to provide will be very helpful, so that you will be able to understand about where your answer is correct or not, and how much you need to prepare for the upcoming exams and all. So if in case you people are preparing for the another exam, FCAT 2 2021, or various other exams, I highly recommend you to please download SSB Crack Exams Learning App. We people are India's largest, most preferred online defense exams preparation portal. We people are also providing you the complete detailed video lectures, live classes, study plans, notes, and also the mock tests that are also being provided. And along with those mock tests, after you finish writing those mock tests, we are also providing you the rank analysis on a whole India level, so that you will be able to understand about your competency levels. We'll also have the complete detailed updated syllabus, and also you will be able to access our courses through offline mode if in case you are a very good subscriber to our courses. AFCAT course, as far as this AFCAT course is concerned, we people are considered to be providing the most powerful course in all of the country, and most of the aspirants are benefiting from a lot from whatever questions that we are providing. We are also providing the mock test, which will be very helpful for your examination preparation, because all of them are being made taken into consideration the latest exam patterns. I also try to would like to remind you that you can even use the code Warrior10 to get an extra 10% offer on all the courses, whichever course you're trying to apply for. Okay, so without wasting any time, let us start off with the first and foremost question, and that is, what is the capital of Zimbabwe? Okay, so the capital of Zimbabwe, the correct answer is Harare. Okay, Harare is the capital of Zimbabwe, and this is how the national flag of Zimbabwe looks. We need to understand that Harare is also the largest city in the whole country of Zimbabwe, and it is also the second largest city is Bulawayo. And Zimbabwe is a country of around 14 million people, and it has 16 official languages, with English, Shona, and Debele are the most commonly spoken dialects in that particular country. Going through now with the next question, second one, who adopted Indian Constitution after independence? That means by what particular act did we adopted the Indian Constitution after independence? And the correct answer is the Constituent Assembly. Okay, Assembly has adopted the Indian Constitution after independence, and we need to understand this particular thing. And with the last voting of the Constitution, it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly, and the President of the Assembly signed a copy of the Constitution to the officially bringing it in force, although partially, because only 16 out of 395 articles came into force at that point in time. Okay, going through the next question is, who appoints the prime minister? Okay, who is actually appointing the prime minister? The correct answer is president. Okay, president appoints the prime minister, and this is taken into consideration according to article 75 of the constitution, wherein which the prime minister will be taken up from the majority party in the Lok Sabha. But when no party has a clear majority in the Lok Sabha, president can exercise his personal discretion in the appointment of the prime minister. Going through now with the next question is, what is ace in tennis? Okay, the term ace in tennis, what is the meaning of that particular one? You need to understand that in tennis, an ace is an legal serve that is not touched by the receiver, winning the point. Okay, in professional tennis, aces are generally seen on a player's first serve, where the server can strike the ball with maximum force and take more chances with ball placement, such as the far corners of the service box. The next question is, in reading in barometer, if reading in the barometer, it is actually declining very fast. So what is the meaning of that? In a barometer, if that particular reading is declining fast, what does it mean? It means that a storm is going to occur very soon. Okay, the meaning of fastly declining barometer is the indication of the storm. Okay, so barometer is a device that measures air pressure, and it shows when the weather is likely to change. If the reading is going down very fast, then it is an indication of storm within 5 to 6 hours. We need to understand that this is how the reading will go fast downwards, and otherwise the slow downfall of the reading is a low pressure area is passing in a nearby region. It might also rain. Okay, Going through now with the next question is, who is the first recipient of Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Puraskar? I repeat, the first recipient of Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Puraskar, and the correct answer is Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand. Okay, the chess player of our country is a very famous chess person, and we need to understand Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand is considered to be the first recipient of the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Puraskar, and this award was instituted in 1991 to 92, and we need to understand that Vishwanathan Anand was the first recipient of this particular award. Let us now go through with the next question, and the next question is here for you. Jammy is the nickname of which cricketer? Okay, so which cricketer is called as Jammy? And the correct answer is Rahul Dravid. Okay, Rahul Dravid's father has worked with Jam's producing company Kisan, and the cricketer was handed a bottle of jam whenever he went out playing, giving him the nickname Jammy. Right? Going through the next question is, Irani trophy is related to which sport? Okay, so Irani trophy is actually related towards cricket only. Okay, so Irani was associated with the Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI, from its inception in 1928 till his death in 1970. So this particular trophy is named after him, and the fixture is played annually between incumbent Ranji Trophy winners and rest of the India team. Right, going through now with the next question is this particular one: who founded Khilji dynasty? And the founder of Khilji dynasty is Jalaluddin Firuz Khilji. Okay, remember, Jalaluddin Firuz Khilji is the founder of the Khilji dynasty, and he's actually the founder of the slave sultan, were actually succeeded by this particular dynasty known as Khiljis, and Jalaluddin Khilji founded Khilji dynasty in the year of 1290. Okay, going through the next question: Independence Bill or Indian Independence Act was passed on which particular date? Okay, so Indian Independence Act was passed on which particular date? And the correct answer is July of 16th, 1947, sir. Okay, it was passed on July of 16th, 1947, and we got our independence on 15th of August, 1947. Okay, so Minister in British Cabinet introduced the Indian Independence Bill in the British Parliament on July of 3rd, 1947. This particular bill was introduced in the British Parliament on July of 3rd, 1947, and this bill was passed on July of 16th, 1947. The royal assent was granted on July of 17th, and enforcing the Indian Independence Act 1947 very soon. Going through now with the next question is, who is the writer of Ramcharitamanas? Who has written Ramcharitmanas? This particular question was also asked in the yesterday's AFCAT exam. In 20th February's AFCAT exam also it was asked. So the correct answer is, the writer of Ramcharitmanas is Tulsi Das, sir. Okay, Tulsi Das is the writer of Ramcharitmanas. He is a very famous Bhakti saint and poet. Going through the next question is, who wrote the book of Aryans? Okay, and the correct answer is Bhagwan S. Gidwani. Bhagwan S. Gidwani has written the book known as Return of the Aryans, gripping the epic story of Aryans and the kings, poets, years, gods, battles, romance, rise and fall of civilizations, and all. Going through the next question: who translated Upanishads in Persian? Okay, so the Hindu Upanishads were translated to Persian by whom? And the correct answer is Darashiko. Okay, Darashiko translated all the Upanishads into Persian, and is actually the eldest son of the fifth Mughal emperor Shah Jahan and brother of Aurangzeb. Sir-e-Akbar is his translation of Upanishads in Persian. Okay, what is it called as? Sir-e-Akbar is the translation of Upanishads in Persian, and other famous work include Majma ul Bahrain, which was devoted to a revelation of the mystical affinities between Sufic and Vedantic speculations. Going through the next question is, where is the College of Defense Management located? The College of Defense Management is located in Secunderabad, and this is located in the Sainikpuri area in Secunderabad, in the recently formed Telangana state of India, and it is considered to be the exclusive management training college for all the defense personnel coming from Army, Navy and Air Force. Going through the next question: who wrote Panchatantra? The writer of Panchatantra, which is a very famous tale, it is Vishnu Sharma, sir. Vishnu Sharma has written, has actually, he said all the stories and all, and these stories were actually documented later on. But who actually documented these were not properly known. But all of these stories were told towards the children of a king, and we to understand. So Vishnu Sharma was the person, very famous, intelligent person, who turned to teach people about what are the proper ways of proper livelihood. So it is properly the oldest surviving collection of Indian fables, having written around 200 BC by Pandit Vishnu Sharma, who is a Hindu scholar. This book, Panchatantra, is also considered to be a Niti Shastra, which means a book that imparts wisdom on correct conduct in life. Going through the next question, example of igneous rock was also answered and options were given. So we people were not properly able to find out the proper options for this question, but the correct answer was found out to be granite. We need to understand that some of the examples of igneous rocks include andesite, basalt, dionite, gabbro, granite, obsidian, pegmatite, peridotite, pumice, rhyolite, scoria, and tuff. These are some of the examples of igneous rocks. There are too many igneous rocks, but I gave you a few of them, right? Going through now with the next question that they asked is, what is the zone between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn called? So this particular zone between Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, it is called as the torrid zone, sir. Okay, remember the name. It is known as torrid zone, and the area between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle, or the area between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle, that area is called as the temperate zone, and the areas above the Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle, and above the Arctic Circle, those areas are called as frigid zones. Okay, going through with the next question is, Wimbledon is played in which country? Okay, so the game Wimbledon tennis is actually played in which particular country? And Wimbledon is actually played in the country of England. Okay, England hosts the play of Wimbledon, which is a very famous, considered to be the world's topmost tennis championship that we need to understand. It is played in Wimbledon in London. Going through the next question, Yakshagana is the folk and tribal dance of which particular state? And Yakshagana, it is actually a folk tribal dance which is related towards Karnataka. So these areas that they include in the areas of Dakshina Kannada, Udupi, Uttara Kannada, Shimoga, and western parts of Chikmagalur districts in the state of Karnataka. They still hone and practice this particular skill of performing Yakshagana, and it is believed to be the form that has been evolving since the Bhakti movement. Going through the next question, which of the following is known as Jovian planet? And there were options. We need to understand that there are only four important Jovian planets, and they include Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. All of these four planets are called as a Jovian planets. Whichever option has come up, if that particular option, in all of those options, if any one of these four planets are there, that would be the correct answer. Okay, going through the next question, where is the headquarters of Asian Development Bank or ADB located? The headquarters of ADB is located in Manila in Philippines, in Mandaluyong in Manila. We need to understand that it is a very, very famous bank, and Asian Development Bank is a very crucial bank that has to be a very important carrier and conduct of the economic issues regarding the Asian nations. Going through the next question is, which is the nearest capital to the equator line in the South America? We need to understand that there were a lot of options given. So the nearest capital to the equator line in the South America, the correct answer is, we need to understand it as Quito. Okay, so Quito is the capital of Ecuador. The meaning of Ecuador, the name itself suggests that it is nearer to equator, and that is the reason why, I don't think so, but most probably people say that the country is named as Ecuador because it is equator passes through that, and its capital is also extremely near us. See, you see this red line is actually the equator. So Quito, which is the capital, it is very nearer towards the equator, and that is the reason why this is the correct answer. We need to understand that Quito was founded on the ruins of Incan city, and it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site with historic structures filling this charming, bustling city. Going through the next question, who was the recipient of the first Gyanpith Award? The first recipient of the Gyanpith Award is G. Shankara Kurup. Okay, G. Shankara Kurup, who is actually a Malayalam poet. He has won the first Gyanpith Award in 1965 for the year of its inception and for his anthology of poems called Odakuzil. Going through the next question is, which one of the following is not a word in the preamble? Okay, so you do not find which among these words in the preamble, and the options that were given were secularism, democratic, socialist, and federalist. The correct answer is federalism. You do not find the word federalism. Only those words you find out are sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic, and you also find the terms known as justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, but you do not find the word federalism because our country is not a federal nation. We do have a federal form of government, but India is not a completely federal nation. We follow the unified system of governance. right? Going through with the next question is what is the number of players in water polo? So the number of players in each particular team in water polo is around 7 players. Okay, so two teams, each of 7 players, will throw the ball into their opponent's goal. Each consists of 7 players, including a goalkeeper, and all play without their feet ever touching the bottom. Okay, going through the next question, who wrote the book My Country My Life? The book My Country My Life was written by LK Advani, Lal Krishna Advani, and he is also known as the former deputy prime minister of India from 2000 to 2004, and was also the leader of opposition in the 15th Lok Sabha. This book was released on 19th of March 2008 by Abdul Kalam, who is actually the 11th president of our country. Going through the next question is GT Road or the Grand Trunk Road, it was built by whom? So GT Road was built by Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of the Maurya dynasty. So we need to understand that this particular road, it travels all the way up from Chittagong in Bangladesh and all the way up towards Kabul in Afghanistan. It's a very very big road, and it was renamed lot of times with the rulers who were ruling at that time. And it is also, this ancient route was called as Uttarapatha in 3rd century BC, extending it from mouth of Ganges to the northwestern frontier in the empire. Going through the next question is, in equinox the sun's rays directly fall on which of the following? So this particular question was also again repeated. So the options that were given were equator, tropic of Cancer, tropic of Capricorn, and the pole. So the meaning of equinox is the rays are directly falling on the equator, sir. Okay, very simple. Equinox will occur only on 2 days in the whole year. They include on 21st of March and 23rd of September. Only on these 2 days equinox will be observed, and at this position neither of the poles is tilted towards the sun, and so the whole earth experiences equal day and equal night, and that is called as an equinox. Going through the next question is, which act of the British was called as the Black Act? And the act that was passed by the British, it was called as a Black Act. That was Rowlatt Act. Okay, so this particular act, it allows the British to jail the protesters without a trial up to 2 years. That means you can arrest any Indian without questioning, asking, doing any particular, without doing any interrogation. You can arrest him and you can keep in custody for around 2 years. This was known as the Rowlatt Act and was considered to be the Black Act. It was passed in the year of 1919, and this law made it possible for the British government to jail anyone suspected of plotting or overthrowing government in jail, even without a trial, and to try them without any jury. And Jallianwala Bagh massacre was a consequence of this particular Rowlatt Act. Going through the next question, which of the following occurs due to physical changes? Okay, so which among these is actually an example of a physical change? Is it oxidation or reduction or sublimation or decomposition? The correct answer is sublimation. Okay, sublimation is a process where solid will directly turn into gaseous state. You can see a lot of changes that are happening. Even naphthalene balls that you keep underneath your dresses in the almanars or cupboard, so all of those balls are also kind of, they happen to undergo sublimation process where where they will convert from solid towards gaseous state. We need to understand, so this is the process, it's a physical change, this is sublimation. Whereas the other options, decomposition, reduction, and oxidation, will occur only by chemical means. That's not a physical change, it is a chemical change. The other three are. Going through the next question, diamond is the allotrope of which element? Very simple one, diamond is the allotrope of carbon. Okay, other allotropes include graphite and fullerene, Buckminster fullerene, right? So diamond is also used in cutting, drilling, jewelry, and a lot of other things. So carbon is the actually the element that is the allotrope of the uh, important of diamond. Okay, going through with the next question is, which language became official court language during Mughal period? So the official court language during Mughal period was Persian. Okay, not Urdu, not Hindi, not any other. Persian is the language of the Mughal period, and this was a very very important thing that you need to remember. Going through with the next question is, Mehrauli pillar inscriptions is related to which dynasty? Mehrauli pillar inscriptions is actually related towards the Gupta dynasty, sir. Okay, they all belong towards the Gupta dynasty. Even the Iral pillar now seen in the Qutub complex in New Delhi, this is actually originally erected during the time of King Chandra, and it bears his inscription in Sanskrit. This king has been identified with Emperor Chandragupta too, and that is the reason why we need to understand that Mehrauli inscriptions are actually dating back towards the Gupta dynasty. Going through the next question, there were the couple of questions that we got, but people they were confused about what actually the question was. So we just coupled up all of these questions. It might be one or two of these, so please excuse me for that. And the questions that I'm giving here is all at a time. So Coco was played for the first time in which country, or the question might be where was the first Coco International Championship held, or it might also be that where was the first Coco game in Olympics took place. So the answers are all here for you. Coco is actually, it is where it was played for the first time in which country, sir? It is played actually for the first time in our country, in India. First Coco International Championship was held in 1955 at Vijayawada, and the Olympics, when it happened actually at 1936 Berlin Olympics. That means the Olympics in 1936, they were held in Germany, in Berlin. So in 1936 Berlin Olympics, they were, for the first time Coco was featured with a single team. Going through the next question is, the Ursa Major constellation in India is known as what? So the name Ursa Major constellation, so this constellation in India, it is named as Saptarishi constellation, sir. Okay, so these are the seven stars, and these are the those constellation. It is also known as Big Dipper, or also Ursa Major constellation. So they include the stars of Alkaid, Mizar, uh, Alioth, Megrez, Facta, Marek, and Dubhe. All of these, they were considered to be Saptarishis according to Hindu mythology. They include Brigu, Vasishtha, Angirasa, Atri, Pulastya, Pulaha, and Kratu. These are the seven rishis. So this same constellation, Ursa Major constellation, is known as the Saptarishi constellation according to the Indian scriptures. Going through with the next question is, which is the highest lifetime award for sports in India? The highest lifetime award for sports in India is Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award. Okay, Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna is the highest lifetime award for the sports in our country. Before this, actually, Arjuna Award was that, but after Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna got instituted, this was renamed to be the highest lifetime award. Going through with the next question is, who has won the maximum number of gold medals in Olympics? The maximum number of gold medals in Olympics were actually won by an American citizen. Michael Phelps is actually an American swimmer. He belongs to United States, and he has won around 23 gold medals, and is actually considered to be the most decorated Olympian of all time. And he has won 23 gold medals plus 3 silver and 2 bronze, and he came across 4 Olympic games from Athens 2004 to Rio 2016. Going through with the next question is, Pascal is related to what? Okay, Pascal is actually a term, it is a unit related towards pressure. Okay, so pressure is measured by the unit of Pascal. Okay, so 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. Okay, so what is pressure, sir? Pressure is equal to force per unit area. So the unit of force is Newton and area is meter square. So Newton per meter square, this is termed as 1 Pascal. Going through with the next question is, what is the full name of Babur? In the previous sessions that were happening, they asked what is the original name, and now they change the question to what is the full name, but the answer will be the same. It is actually Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. Okay, Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur is the original name of Babur. He actually is the founder of the Mughal dynasty. Going through with the next question is, the term Ikebana is related to what? Ikebana is an art that is related towards flowers. Okay, it is a Japanese art, flower arranging, where all of these flowers are arranged in a proper way, where blossoms, branches, leaves, stems, they find new life as materials for art making. In contrast to the Western habits of casually placing flowers in a vase, Ikebana aims to bring out the inner qualities of flowers and other live materials and express their emotions. And that is the reason why they are considered to be a very special art, or very special Japanese art. Going through with the next question, tropical grasslands of Africa are known as what? So the tropical grasslands of Africa are called as savannas. Okay, savanna is a grassland ecosystem, and these are very very important because they are extremely important for the livelihood of exotic and exquisite species that are living in the continent of Africa. Going through with the next question, Surya Shekhar Ganguly is related to which sport? Okay, Surya Shekhar Ganguly is actually is related towards chess. He's an Indian chess grandmaster, and he's from Kolkata. He speaks ELO rating is around 2676, and he became an international master at the age of 16 itself, and a grandmaster at the age of 19. So that is it regarding all of these questions, and these are all the questions that we found out until now. And I hope that whatever I have tried covering up regarding all of these were very, very helpful for you. If in case you people have any doubts or queries, please feel free to ask in the discussion box. I'm always there to help you out. And if in case you people are preparing for the upcoming defense exams or for the upcoming exams like AFCAT, INET, Territorial Army, NDA, Indian Air Force 7, Group X, Group I, CAPF Assistant Commandant's exam, also for the entrance exams of Army Cadet College or Military Nursing Service, I highly, highly recommend you to please download SSB Crack Exams Learning app from Google Play Store. Subscribe to our courses and make sure yourself that you're going through with the complete detailed lecture content, study material, sample practice questions, quizzes, exercises, mock tests that are all made taking into consideration the latest exam patterns. And I hope that all of you people are doing very well and good, and your exam went very well and fine. All the very best for your future endeavors. Please do follow us on all sort of social media platforms. Always stay safe, stay healthy, keep smiling, be confident. Jai Hind.
Hello and welcome back to SSB Crack Exams. I'm Anuradha. So I brought for you the answer keys for the AFCAT 1 2021 exam from the verbal ability, that is the English section. Now the answer keys that I'm going to discuss in this session are from the 21st February 2021 AFCAT 1 2021 exam from both the shifts, right? So from both shifts 1 and 2, whatever English questions have come and whatever the students have commented on our social media pages based on their memories, we are going to take up those questions and I'm going to solve for you and give you the answers for those questions as well. Okay, so the questions we are going to discuss, as I have repeated myself, on 21st of February 2021 for AFCAT 1 2021 exam. So let's start, but before, let me tell you that if you're preparing for your upcoming AFCAT examination, then please log on to our website ssbcrackexams.com or simply download our mobile app from the Google Play Store, and after that you can subscribe to your course, whichever course you want to take. So we provide all the courses for the different defense competitive exams, including your AFCAT. So what we do provide? We provide video lectures, mock tests, updated syllabus, offline access of the lectures, rank analysis which you will get after your mock test, study notes, study plans, live classes and much more. So hurry up, download our mobile app right now from the Google Play Store and subscribe to our most powerful AFCAT course where we have covered all the subjects with the full content, with the full depth-wise content of the lectures, the study plans, PDF study materials, quizzes, mock tests and much more. You can also take our AFCAT mock test series, which have been exclusively designed by our top-notch tutors, keeping in mind the recent trends of the AFCAT examination. Also, don't forget to use our code WARRIOR10 to get an extra 10% off while you are subscribing for the course. So now let's start with the questions. So the first question that we are going to discuss here is synonym of industrious. Okay, so you have to find out the synonym or the meaning of the word industrious, and the answer is hardworking or diligent. Hardworking or diligent. So hardworking, diligent, industrious, all these three words mean the same thing. Now I have already given you this word as an example, as a question in the practice exercise of the synonym. So those of you who have already taken our AFCAT course, who have already subscribed to the AFCAT course and have gone through the English practice exercises, you must have come across this word industrious, hardworking or diligent in the practice exercise of the synonym topic. Okay, now moving on to the next question, antonym of wreck. That means you have to find out the opposite or antonym of the word wreck, right? So what is the meaning of wreck? Wreck means to destroy something. Okay, demolish something. So the opposite of destroying or demolishing is create or facilitate. Facilitate means to help, right? So create or facilitate will be the antonym or opposite of the word wreck. Moving on to the next question, you have to find out the antonym or synonym of baffle. So here I'm going to give you both the antonym as well as the synonym of the word baffle. So what is the meaning of baffle? First you have to understand that. So also you'll know the synonym. The synonym of the meaning of baffle is bewilder, perplex, puzzle. That means to get confused. So if you're confused, you are baffled, you are bewildered, you are perplexed, you are puzzled. So all bewilder, perplex, puzzle, baffle, they mean the same thing. Talking about the opposite then, the antonym of baffle is enlighten, clear, comprehend. Comprehend means to make someone understand. So enlighten, clear, comprehend are antonyms of baffle. Moving on to the next question is antonym or synonym of belligerent. Okay, antonym or synonym of the word belligerent. Now what is the meaning of belligerent? The synonym of the meaning of belligerent is hostile or aggressive. One who is very hostile. one who is very aggressive. Okay, that person is called a belligerent person. So belligerent, hostile, aggressive, they mean the same thing. Therefore, the opposite or antonym of belligerent is friendly or amiable. So someone who is not hostile or not aggressive is friendly or amiable. So friendly and amiable are antonyms of belligerent. The next question is antonym of blissful. So if you are blissful or if you are in bliss, that means you are blessed, you are happy. Alright, so blissful means to be happy. Therefore, the antonym or opposite of blissful is sad or miserable. So sad and miserable are antonyms of blissful. Moving on to the next question, very common word, mitigate. So you must have come across this word when I was discussing in my lecture on the list of synonyms from alphabets I to P. You must have come across this word starting with M, which is mitigate. Similarly, I have also given you this word in the mock test series 5 of AFCAT. So those of you who are subscribers to our AFCAT course and who have taken the mock test series of AFCAT, you must have got this word mitigate and you must have solved the synonym of mitigate also. So I'll repeat once more what is the meaning or synonym of mitigate here. Mitigate means to reduce or to lessen or to diminish. So reduce, diminish, lessen, these are all synonyms or meaning of the word mitigate. Now we'll discuss some idioms and you have to find out the meaning of the idiom to keep one's head above the water. To keep one's head above the water. This means to stay out of trouble, especially for financial difficulties. Say if one person is facing any kind of financial trouble, financial crisis or difficulty, then when he said that I have kept my head above the water, then he is barely managing, barely staying out of trouble. Okay, especially in financial difficulties. So that is the meaning of to keep one's head above the water. And this idiom is taken from the literal need to keep your head above the water when swimming. If you do not keep your head above the water, you will drown. So from there, this term, this idiomatic expression has come to keep one's head above the water. So again, those of you who have subscribed to our AFCAT course, who have gone through the English lessons, you must have come across this very popular idiom in the idioms and phrases list that I have provided, particularly under the category of parts of the body. And I will also tell you the lecture, part 3 of the lecture on the idioms and phrases list, particularizing the category of parts of the body. Okay, the next idiom is to spill the beans. To spill the beans means to reveal any kind of secret, to reveal a secret information accidentally or intentionally, that is maliciously, often ruining a surprise or other plan. So if someone has told you not to reveal the secret and you accidentally do so or even intentionally do so, out of malice, out of dislike, out of hatred, you ruin a surprise or other plan, then you are spilling the beans. Now the phrase has originated in ancient Greece, where people cast secret votes by putting white or black beans in a jar. A white bean indicated a positive vote and a black bean was negative. So if someone is spilling the beans at that point of time, they do so to count the votes. So to spill the beans has come from the ancient Greek phrase. Okay, again, those of you who have subscribed to our AFCAT course, have gone through the English lessons, must have come across this in the idioms and phrases list that I have provided under the category of food, and that also part 2 of the lecture on the food category of idioms and phrases list, right? Okay, now we are going to go to the next question. You have to find out the synonym of sloppy. Now what is the meaning of sloppy? If you are lazy, if you are lackadaisical. Also sloppy means being careless or disorganized. So these are all the synonyms of sloppy. If you are careless, if you are disorganized, if you are lazy, if you are lackadaisical, they all mean the same. Next question is truncate, and you have to find out the synonym, that is the meaning of the word truncate. To truncate means to reduce, to diminish, or to shorten something. Okay, so shorten, reduce, lessen, diminish, they are all the synonyms of truncate. Next is synonym or antonym of antipathy. Now this is a very common word. You must have heard of the word sympathy, empathy. Similarly, if you have sympathy for someone, you can obviously feel his pains or emotions. Okay, you are sympathizing, you are feeling one with that person. If you have empathy, that means you are detached from that person, but still you can feel the pains or the feelings of that person. But if you have antipathy about someone, then obviously you do not like that person, you are not at all feeling the pain or the feelings of that person. Instead you are feeling hatred or dislike for that person. So that is the meaning of antipathy, or the synonym therefore will stand for hostility or enmity. These are the synonyms of antipathy: hostility, enmity, dislike, hatred, and so on. Antonym therefore will be the opposite, and so the opposite or antonym of antipathy is liking or affinity. So liking, affinity, these are all antonyms of the word antipathy. Moving on to the next question is antonym of thrifty. Again, a very common word. Those of you who have already subscribed to our course, just as I've already told you, have come across this word in the quiz, in the practice exercises, also while attending the mock test series. When you are thrifty, you are miserly, you are spendthrift, you are cautiously spending money. So that is the meaning of the word thrifty. So therefore the opposite of thrifty will be when you're not minding anything when you are spending the money. In other words, you are extravagant or profligate. So profligate and extravagant, these two words are antonyms or opposites of thrifty. Okay, moving on to the next question is synonym or antonym of kindle. Again, I have already mentioned this word kindle in the quizzes, mock test, and so on. To kindle something means to set something on fire, to light a fire. Basically, it's a literal meaning. Kindle's literal meaning is to light a fire, to ignite, but it will also means to arouse. So, for example, if you kindle anger in the mob, you are arousing or rousing anger in the people, in the mob, in the crowd. So, that is a synonym of ignite, arouse, kindle. So, the antonym or opposite will be to extinguish or to put out. So, obviously, if you are pouring water on the candle or on the light, you are extinguishing it, you are dousing it, you are putting out the fire or the light. Okay. Next one is quibble. Now you have to find out the antonym or the opposite of quibble. So first you need to know what is the quibble. Quibble means when you're criticizing. Antonym of quibble is to reason or to argue. When you are reasoning or arguing or discussing with someone, okay? And quibble means to escape. You are avoiding any kind of discussion. You are escaping any kind of discussion or criticism, okay? You're hiding from it. And therefore, the antonym of quibble is to reason or to argue when you're facing any kind of discussion, okay? Next one is throwing sand in someone's eyes. This is a very popular idiom. And in Hindi we say धूल झोंकना, किसी के आंखों में धूल झोंकना. What is the meaning of this? Obviously, in the Hindi translation, it means throwing sand in someone's eyes, and it means to mislead someone. To mislead someone. This metaphoric expression alludes to throwing dust or sand in the air to confuse a pursuing enemy. So if you don't want the enemy to follow you, to see you, to weaken the enemy, you usually throw sand in his or her eyes. So throwing sand in someone's eyes means to mislead someone. So I hope that you've got all the answers of the questions that have been taken from the students' comments in our social media platforms. All these questions are memory based. Again, if you have any question, if you remember any question from the English section of 21st February 2021 AFCAT 1 2021 exam, please feel free to comment about that particular question and mention it in the comment box down below. So I'll see you next with the other sections and its answer keys. Till then, stay tuned to SSB Crack Exams. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Don't forget to follow us on our Instagram pages and YouTube channel as well. So till then, stay motivated, be confident, and all the best for those of you who are going to take the AFCAT 1 2021 exam tomorrow. Jai Hind.
Hi there and welcome back to SSB Crack Exams. I'm Lakshmi and I'm back with the AFCAT 1 2021 questions from the numerical ability section. I'll be discussing the questions which have shared by our fellow aspirants, which are the memory based questions and that have come in shift 1 and shift 2 on 21st of February 2021. So let us begin by, if you are an AFCAT aspirant and you would like to prepare for your upcoming AFCAT written examination, you do subscribe to our AFCAT courses to get the powerful content which will fulfill your demand of cracking your AFCAT written examination in very first attempt. We have the most powerful AFCAT course designed with the multiple courses, subject-wise courses with the specialized content as per the updated syllabus, and also we have the mock test series for you to attempt after your complete preparation of each and every subject for your AFCAT written examination. So you can now get the 10% additional discount on the purchase of AFCAT course. So you just need to use the Warrior 10 which is a discount code, so use it. Now you can visit to the Google Play Store, download the mobile app SSB Crack Exams, use the code to subscribe to the courses. So let's begin the session with the question from 21st February shift 1. Sachin scored 12,000 runs in certain innings of its. How many innings? We don't know. In next 5 matches, he managed to score just 95 runs such that his average decreased by 1. Then what is the total number of matches played by him we supposed to determine. So first of all, if you notice in the question, these 12,000 runs were made in certain innings of it. So those innings are unknown to us. And in that, you have to take the count of 5 matches. Then you will declare the total number of matches played by him. Okay. So what we can do is we can take this certain innings of its initially, in which he made 12,000 runs to be X innings. So let's say then in X innings, okay, in the X innings, or you can say matches, Sachin made how many runs? 12,000 runs. So according to this information, we can write that average runs is equals to 12,000, the total runs divided by number of matches he played, right? So 12,000 upon X will be the value for original average. But later, as he added 95 runs to his total score by playing into next 5 matches, so we have to now set up the new average, which is decreased by 1, because he just made 95 runs in next 5 matches. So the next statement would be how the average decreased by 1, the original average AVG decreased by 1 equals to how many runs made by then? 12,000 plus 95 runs more divided by, what do you write here? Number of matches, X plus 5 now. X were the number of certain innings initially, right? Then letter 5. So now you can see that this average value, which is 12,000 by X, can be substituted here. And we will get an equation to solve. That is, this 12,000 upon X minus 1 equals to 12,000 plus 95 upon X plus 5, which I would write on the next line as 12,000 upon X minus 12,095 upon X plus 5 equals to 1. We supposed to solve this equation by cross multiplication. You can do it. So it's a 12,000 multiplied by X plus 5 minus 12,095 X is equals to X into X plus 5, right? Let's simplify further. So it's 12,000 X plus 12,000 into 5, 60,000 minus 12,095 X is equals to X square plus 5X. So you can notice that we are getting the quadratic equation, that is X square plus 5X. This 12,000X minus 12,095X. What remains there is minus 95X. Okay, and that side I am taking, right hand side. So it will be plus 95, right? I am taking to the right side. And then I have this minus 60,000 on right hand side equals to 0. So we are getting this quadratic equation, that is X square plus 100X minus 60,000 is equals to 0. And you can, solve this quadratic equation. The factors of 60,000, you have to take them to be, 300 into 200. Check. So that the difference is plus 100, means the factors are X plus 300 and X minus 200, right? X plus 300 and X minus 200, which you equate it to 0 to get the value of X, which has to be 200 because it cannot be negative. So we have to ignore this factor. We can't take this. So we have to solve X minus 200 equal to 0 to get X equal to 200, a positive number. So these are the certain innings. This is the 200 are the certain innings. But now the question demands you to note the total matches. So total matches will be how many? And hence answer to this question becomes what? 205 matches. So these total matches are like the initial 200 innings plus later 5 matches he played. So 205 matches should be the appropriate answer to this question. Next question, let's discuss. A batsman in his 15th inning makes a score of 95 runs. Understand, by 15th inning, a batsman is making 95 runs. and thereby what happening, he is increasing his average score by 5 itself. Average score is increased by 5. So what is the average score after 15th inning is the question mark. So basically we shall find the average score after 15th inning. So let us first of all talk about average score of 14th inning. Average score of 14th inning. So how do you get that total 14 innings average score? You have the score of the batsman, right, in his 15th inning, which is, you know, the 95 runs. From this 95, which is the runs by the 15th inning, from this total 95 runs, you have to subtract the score at 15th inning. So that you will get it by, you know, multiply the average 5 with the number of that inning, 15, right? What you get? You will get this is 95 minus 75, that is equals to 20. You got this step. Average score of 14 innings. 14 innings we are calculating. Right? You know by 15th inning the score 95. Right? So 95 are the runs by 15th inning. So from those 95 runs, I am subtracting the runs of the 15th number inning. How do you subtract that? You know, average, right? Average multiplied by number of that inning. So 15 into 5. So you are getting 20 runs. So these are the runs which is the like average score of 14 innings. So you want average score after 15th inning. So therefore average score after 15th inning will be what? You have got 20 average for 14, and later already they have given in the question the average score for the 15th inning was increased by 5, right? So therefore 20 plus 5. So hence 25 should be the appropriate answer to this question. Okay, next. So hence the key 25 runs. Next question, let us discuss. A person sells a product at rupees 340 and makes a 10% loss. What will be the selling price if the 40% profit is to be made? Is the question. So initially you can see, you know what? The selling price of the product and the loss percent. Using loss percent and selling price, you can note down the cost price of that product, isn't it? And then using that cost price, you have to take the profit percent to be 40% to determine its selling price. So let's solve this sum. We supposed to determine the selling price to get the profit of 40%, right? So initially we have the 340, which is the SP1 of the product, right? Rupees 340, and we have the loss percent, which is equals to 10%. You know, loss percent formula. Loss percent is equals to what? The loss upon CP into 100. For loss, the CP would be higher, so numerator would be CP minus the SP, right? So CP is unknown there, so CP minus 340 upon CP into 100 is provided to be 10%, right? So this 10 tensa. So what you get is this CP is equals to 10 into CP minus 340, which gives you the equation 10 CP minus CP, that is 9 CP equals to 340. So CP is equals to 340 by 9 rupees. Let us keep it in fraction only, no worries. We supposed to determine now the SP, which is the SP2, so that we would have the profit of around 40%. So for that we'll be using the profit percent formula. That so 40 is equals to SP2 unknown minus the CP 340 by 9 upon 340 by 9 into 100, isn't it? So let us solve this. You supposed to solve actually 40 by 100 into 340 by 9 equals to SP2 minus 340 by 9 to determine the required SP2. So SP2 you shall get it to be, you know, 136 by 9 plus 340 by 9. That would be around 476 by 9, which would come approximately 528.2 9, rounding up to one place of decimal. So you would have checked the options. As per the options, we can go to the answer either approximately 529, because 529 is the nearest integer to this 528.9, or might some of you can go with this 528.88, which is the actual calculation based result for the required selling price. So I don't know what were the options. So based upon option, if they have rounded up, you would have taken the answer 529 rupees, or might rounded to one place of decimal 528.9, or answer up to two places of decimal would be 528.88 rupees. So accordingly, all right, this is another question shared by one of the fellow aspirant, and this was the question, and this is a question based upon ratio and proportion. Okay, so there are two compounds which are mixed together in the ratio 1:4. Compound 1 has 40% iron and 60% carbon, wherein the compound 2 has 35% iron and 40% carbon, and there is an additional element, there is a 25% chlorine also in compound number 2. So we shall find the ratio of iron and carbon. It seems. So basically what we can understand here is that from the information, there are two compounds, C1 and C2, right? Both of the compounds have certain iron, carbon. Compound number 2 has iron, carbon and chlorine. We shall take up what was the amount of iron in C1, that is compound number 1, C2 compound number 2, and we have to take that iron ratio with the carbon ratio, and this carbon amount has to be taken from C1 as well as from C2. You got my point? So this is how you're supposed to approach to this question. So what we do for this particular question is, let us note down the two compounds. For simplicity, let two compounds be X and Y, where X and Y are their respective amounts. Okay, and now we know from the question that these two compounds are mixed in the ratio of their amounts as 1:4. Okay, this is known to us, very important criteria. And now we here make a chart that this compound X has what percent iron. When I write, I'll write IX to indicate for the compound X. So iron for the first compound was 40%. So 40% of this X, how much it would be? Yes, 40x by 100. And how much was the carbon in the first compound? I would write Cx for that. So Cx would be 60%, it seems. So it's 60x by 100. Done. Similarly for the compound Y, now let us write this Iy to indicate the iron in that compound. So they mentioned that iron is 35%. So 35y by 100. And carbon, that is Cy, is, they mentioned 40%. So 40 by 100 times of Y. And it also has that chlorine, it seems CH I would write. So CH, that mentioned to be 25%. So 25 by 100 Y. So basically to get the iron with the carbon ratio, right, pick up the iron Ix, add it to the iron of Y divided by carbon of the compound X, carbon of the compound Y. So take up that Ix, you have 40x by 100. So 40x by 100 plus Iy, you have 35y by 100. Okay. And denominator carbon Cx, you have 60x by 100 plus the carbon in Y compound 40y by 100. So you can see that if you simplify that, right, making there the denominator is same 100, right? So we'll get the numerator 40x plus 35y upon 60x plus 40y, isn't it? So moving on to the next line, that is iron to the carbon ratio we are writing about, that would be 40x upon y plus 35 divided by 60x upon y plus 40. What I have done, see, I have taken this y common from numerator and denominator to get this equation, so that we can take the help of the given, that was x by y equal to 1 by 4, remember. So hence this gives 40 into 1 by 4 plus 35 upon 60 into 1 by 4 plus 40. So numerator you are getting 10 plus 35 and denominator you are getting, yes, 15 plus 40, that is giving you the ratio 45 upon 55 divided by 5, so it's 9 by 11, and hence the required ratio, and I would say the appropriate answer to this question should be 9:11, the ratio for iron to carbon. Alright, moving on and looking into the next question shared by our fellow aspirant based upon speed, distance and time. This was in the 21st February shift 1. Okay, a girl goes 6 kilometer against stream and 10 kilometer with stream. Can you understand the meaning of the statement? This is the stream, right? Girl is going against the stream means she is moving upstream. That is the distance covered by her is 6 kilometer while moving upstream, and 10 kilometer with stream means downstream, right? In the same time, they mentioned timings are same if the speed of the stream is 518 meter per second. The speed of the stream is known to us, it's a 5 by 18 meter per second. So what is the girl's speed in still water? We shall determine. You must remember that I had discussed in my lectures on speed, distance and time. X we take to be the speed of still water, right? And Y we take to be the speed of stream. And in this question already the speed of stream is known to us. It's 5 by 18 meter per second. Okay, and speed of still water to be found means X we supposed to find. And you know very well that upstream speed is given by what? Upstream speed will be the difference of these two speeds, the still water speed minus the speed of stream. And downstream speed, you must remember, it will be what? Downstream speed will be x plus y. So now you know while moving up, that is against the stream, the distance covered is 6 kilometer, though the time is same for both moving downstream and upstream. So we will set up the equations now. Upstream speed when you are writing, okay, the distance given is 6 kilometers, which we shall take it into the meters upon the time unknown. So this 6 kilometer I'll write in terms of meters, so it will be 6,000 meters per second, the upstream speed. So time you understand I have taken into seconds. And the downstream speed will be the distance covered while moving down, that was 10 kilometer, right? So it's 10,000 meters upon the same time they mentioned. Now what they have given us is that the speed of girl in stream 5 by 18 meter per second. So now let us write about the equation 1 and 2 left hand side. So for the equation 1 we know upstream speed, I told you it's x minus y. You remember this. In this you have to substitute y equal to 5 by 18, which is the speed of stream known to us in the question. So shall I write then that we have this equations x upon 5 by 18 equals to 6,000 upon t, which we would write it to be t equals to 6,000 upon x minus 5 by 18, isn't it? And for the equation number 2 we have this x plus 5 by 18 equals to 10,000 upon t to give you t is equals to 10,000 upon x plus 5 by 18. Now you notice that you shall solve this 2 means you have to equate the time there, right? Then that we have got 6,000 upon x minus 5 by 18 equals to 10,000 upon x plus 5 by 18, which you can see that simply it's like 6 is to 10 only in the numerator. So it's 6 into x plus 5 by 18 equals to 10 into x minus 5 by 18, to give you 6x plus 5 by 3 equals to 10x minus, yes, what do you get? 25 by 9. Check. So what you get by simplifying is that 4x equals to 5 by 3 plus 25 by 9. Making the denominator same, the 9 there, will get 15 plus 25 by common denominator 9, that is equals to what? Yes, it will be 40 upon 9. Right? So 4x is equals to 40 upon 9 we are getting. 4x equals to 40 upon 9, which gives x is equals to what? 10 upon 9. And this 10 upon 9, you know, it's a meter per second speed. Okay, because we have already converted the distance into meters only. From kilometer to meter we made it. So the required speed we got it to be in meter per second. If suppose the options would have been in kmph, then you know that to convert this 10 by 9 meter per second reading into kilometer per hour means you have to multiply by 18 by 5. So you can see that the 9252, so it's gonna give you 4 kmph. So hence I would like to tell you here that so the answer can be yes, 10 by 9 meter per second if it is provided in the options, or suppose might the options comprised of the readings in terms of kilometer, then that answer would be 4 kmph. Can you get me? So based upon the option you would have proceeded. Hopefully you understood the solution so far discussed. Now let's discuss the question from shift number 2 shared by our fellow aspirant, and this was the question on average. This is the statement, remember, by one of the aspirant, that the average age of Atul, Abhishek and Mohit is known to us, that is 15 years, and the average age of Atul, Abhishek and Anand is known to us, that is 18 years. Then we supposed to find age of Mohit, it seems. But if you try to formulate the equations for this question, like, see, we know the average formula, that is the sum of ages upon the number you are adding. In simply, you know that A is equals to S upon N, isn't it? So now for the first criteria, this sum is the sum of the ages for Atul, right, Abhishek and Mohit. This sum would be what? The sum S would be average into N. So it will be 3 persons N multiplied by their average 15. So that reading would be 45 years, right? And the second equation that we would get by reading this average age of Atul, Abhishek and Anand, for which we write the sum of the age of Atul with the Abhishek and the Anand, AN. Okay, so 3 members again, their average is 18. So 18 threes are 54 years. So we have only this much information, but if we deal with this information, that if we do 2 minus 1, we subtract the equation 1 from the equation 2, we could see that Anand's age minus Mohit age, we're gonna get it to be 54 minus 45, which will be 9 years. So basically, according to the question, if suppose it is to find the age of Mohit, at least one of the person's age, I mean the Anand age must be known to you. Then and only then it is possible to find out the Mohit age. So according to the question, if the same question comes, you can understand there that they must have given you either Anand's age, okay, to determine the Mohit age, or might be this question could have been find the difference between the age of Mohit and Anand. So what I think the appropriate answer would be the 9 years, but only when the question is about to find the difference between Anand's and Mohit age. I hope my argument is clear to you, because the information that you have, it's gonna give you an equation which relates the age of Anand with Mohit, and the difference between their ages is 9. So you would have been done the hit and trial. If suppose the question is same, then must be after this you would have taken the help of options to determine the Mohit age. Okay, now hence I would like to declare that the appropriate key, right, to determine the difference between Anand's and Mohit age would be 9 years. And if you want to determine the age of Mohit, there must you take the help of options, or there must be a certain more information which is needed for this question. Let us discuss the next question, which is based upon the simplification now. 23 divided by 46 into 75 plus 512 minus 251 equals 2. So if suppose this is a question, right, one of the aspirant has shared, this is a memory based question, might the numerics vary, so accordingly answer has to be. But let me tell you the process to approach this. Yes, it is the BODMAS rule that you must follow, right? You must first of all do this division part, right? 23 divided by 46 gonna give you half there. So half into 75 plus you have 512 minus 251. And 75 divided by 2 you're gonna get, and 75 by 2 results 37.5, which is now added to 512 minus 251, which is same as 37.5 plus 261. Check. And if you add this to 261 and 37.5, you shall get the result 298.5. That is how the appropriate key then would be 298.5 if the question would have been this way. Okay, next question let us discuss, and this is the question from Speed, Distance and Time. A train leaves Delhi at 6 a.m. and reaches Agra at 10 a.m. Another train leaves Agra at 8 a.m. and reaches Delhi at 11:30 a.m. So the question was about, it seems, finding the time when two trains meet. So this is basically question on the relative speed. Okay, so there are two trains. So let us say the first train named to be A, the another train named to be B for simplicity. And if you notice, we are unknown about the distance they are completing from Delhi to Agra, right? So this distance is unknown. So for simplicity, we can take the distance to be, say, 2D. This is I am saying because the distance is unknown, just for framing of the equation purpose. We know only the time they are starting and at what time they are reaching their destination. So with that, we can now easily estimate the total journey time. You can see for the train A, the total time taken is 4 hours, and for the train B, right, for the train B, the time taken from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. means 3.5 hours, right? So we know the total time. So we can first of all directly set up the, the ratio of their speeds, because speeds are also unknown. So what we can do is, we can now write the speed of A, I'm writing, which is the train, first train, upon speed of train B. Speed is inversely proportional to time. So this ratio would be like T2 upon T1, where T2 is the time taken by second train. And that time from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So that is 3.5. And T1 is the time taken by first train to travel from Delhi to Agra. Those were 4 hours. So 3.5 by 4, you simplify, you're going to get the simplest ratio 7 by 8. So if I take the common multiple to be, say, m, then I can say that actually the speed of the train A is certain 7m and speed of the train B is 8m. And now you know that the train are traveling opposite to each other, right? One is from Delhi to Agra, other is from Agra to Delhi. So relative speed, that case, it get added. So relative speed, now you know that the relative speed of the journey would be what? It would be sum of 2, that is 7m plus 8m, which will be 15m. So with this speed, now we are about to find the time that they will meet each other, and that is dependent on the time gap also. Did you see the time gap between them? See, first train is starting from 6 a.m. Another train is starting from 8 a.m. So there is a gap of 2 hours. So by the time 8 a.m. the second train start, already the train A has covered certain distance. How much distance it has covered? How do you write that? The total distance 2D. See, I'll write here the information. Train A covers 2D distance, because I have taken the distance between Delhi to Agra, total distance of journey to be 2D. So that train A is taking 4 hours, we know, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. So train A covers 2D distance in 4 hours, which is indicative that the train A covers half of the distance in the 2 hours. So train A covers D, 2D by 2, D distance, right? D distance in 2 hours, which is equivalent to 120 minutes. In 120 minutes time period, train A is covering D distance. Now train A and train B has to meet. Train A and train B have to meet means, right, we have to now relate the time with the relative speed, right? And we also got to know that by 8 a.m. when the second train starts, that is B train from Agra to Delhi, they are already certain distance apart, because by the time in 2 hours already there is a distance D covered by the train A. So by 8 am, train A and train B are already distance apart, that is about of D distance, are D distance apart. Did you notice? So this is now the important criteria, because this is the distance which is differ between them, and we have the relative speed. Now let's talk about the train A. So we know that in 120 minutes, which is equals to 2 hours, train A covers what distance? D distance, right? And we know this is only the distance which is differing between the two trains that they are covering. Now they have to meet, means we have to talk about time taken by the train A to meet the train B. Time taken by train A to meet the train B with the relative speed. The time taken by train A with the speed which we called it to be relative speed, right? What was that? 15 m, right? So this will be equal to how much? This 120 minutes multiplied by the speed of the train A, which was 7 m, upon the total relative speed of both the train, right? So we are hence just talking about that part. So it's 15 m. So you can see that then this will be 120 into 7 upon 15, right? Which will be like 3, 5, 3, 4, 0, 5, 8, 8, 7 are 56. So 56 minutes is the time taken to cross each other, right? So means at what time they will meet. So exact time of meeting would be, see, by 8 am the train B has started. So of course we have to calculate the time from that. After 56 minutes they are meeting. So 8 am plus 56 minutes, hence answer gonna be 8 hours 56 minutes. Therefore the appropriate answer to this question would be what? 8 hours 56 am. Okay, next question let us discuss. Based upon the boats and stream, this was, a boat takes 10 hours to go upstream, that to 32 kilometer, and downstream 40 kilometer, and takes 12 hours to go 38 kilometer upstream and 50 kilometer downstream. So we shall find the rate of boat in still water. So let's assume here speed of still water. Okay, speed of still water to be x kmph and speed of stream to be y kmph, and we already know that if these are the terms, the upstream speed would be what? Upstream speed would be the difference between them, x minus y kmph, right? And the downstream speed would be what? Downstream speed would be x plus y kmph, isn't it? And now we have to set up the equation for the time 10 hours moving upstream 32 kilometer and downstream 40 kilometers. So we have the equation that for time equal to 10 hours, right? So time equal to, you know, basically what is the time? Time is equals to distance upon speed. So distance upon speed, now we are writing here, there are two kinds of distances and two speeds. So we have this time t is equals to, which is 10 hours, equals to the distance travel upstream 32 kilometer upon its speed, that is x minus y, plus distance travel downstream 40 kilometers upon the downstream speed, x plus y. So we have this equation, that is 32 upon x minus y plus 40 upon x plus y equals to 10, equation number 1. And with the second information in the question, that is the second set of information, 12 hours to go 38 kilometer upstream, that is 38 by x minus y, plus 50 kilometer downstream, that is 50 upon x plus y equals to 12 hours. So this is the second equation. And you must remember how to solve this equation. To solve this two equation, you shall say this 1 upon x minus y, certain variable say m, and 1 upon x plus y, certain variable say m, n. Okay, so that by solving the equations that you are obtaining, that is 32m plus 40n equals to 10 and 38m plus 50n is equals to 12, you will get, you have to solve these two equations simultaneously. You will get the values of m and n. You will get m is equals to 1 by 4 and n is equals to 1 by 20. You can check. And now after getting m and n, you know that what is m? M is 1 upon x minus y. So 1 upon x minus y equal to 1 by 4 means it is giving you the equation x minus y equal to 4. And 1 upon x plus y equal to 1 by 20, giving you the equation x plus y equal to 20. And if you just simply now solve these two equations by adding them, you could see the value of x, which is 12. And what was 12? And what was x? X was the speed of still water, and hence that way the appropriate answer to this question hence is 12 kmph, which is the rate of boat in still water. Alright, now let's discuss the another question shared by our aspirant, and this is the question based upon the average. Average height of 22 toddlers increases by 2 inches when 2 toddlers are removed. The average height of 2 toddlers is 1/3 of the average heights of 22 toddlers. If it is this information given to you, we shall find the average height of 20 toddlers. Let's say the average height of the unknown, that is of 20 toddlers. Let's say the average height of 20 toddlers be x inches. When you are removing 2 toddlers, then average of 22 toddlers is increasing by 2. Means in other case, how do you write? When 2 toddlers are included, the average of the group comes down to 2. It will become then what? X minus 2. So I would write here sentence that if we add 2 toddlers, right, then average height of 22 comes down to 2. This is the meaning of the sentence that they have given in terms of increase, right? So hence the average is becoming what? Actually it becomes x minus 2, right? So means we have this equation that for the 20 toddlers the average is x, so this is the sum of the heights of 20 toddlers plus, how do you write the sum of heights of 2 toddlers? There you know that the average height of 2 toddlers is 1/3 of the average height of 22 toddlers, which is x minus 2. Its 1/3 is what? The average height of 2 toddlers. So into 2 I have to do. And this is the sum of those 2 toddlers, right? So this has to be equal to the sum of total 22 toddlers, whose average is x minus 2. You got this equation, hopefully. This is the sum of the heights of 22 toddlers, which is equal to sum of heights of 20 toddlers and sum of heights of 2 toddlers, right? So if you solve this equation, which is 20x plus 2x by 3 minus 4 by 3 equals to 22x minus 44, you solve this equation, you shall get x is equals to here 32 inches very clearly, and hence the appropriate key for this question is yes, option comprising of 32 inches. Hopefully you understood the question. It was very easy. See, they talked about the average height of 22 toddlers, which is increasing by 2 by removing 2 persons, 2 toddlers. So what we assume for simplicity is that we assume that final unknown to be x, which is the average height of 20 toddlers, right? We assume that to be x, and what we did is we write the average height of 22 toddlers, which will be x minus 2, because 22 toddlers height was increased by removing 2 persons, means by adding it is decreased by 2. Simple. So x minus 2 was the average height of 22 toddlers. So using that, we set up the equation of sum of the heights of toddlers of for 20 plus 2 toddlers equal to total 22. In that we got that x unknown, and hence the key we obtained to it, isn't it? Hopefully all the solutions are clear to you, which I have discussed from the paper AFCAT 1 2021, 21st February shift 1 and 2. So do not forget to follow us on social media pages to be updated with all the recent defense exams related information. And do download the mobile app SSB Crack Exams from Google Play Store to subscribe to AFCAT courses to start your preparation now. So all the very best learners. Stay tuned to SSB Crack Exams.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another session by SSB Crack Exams. I am Drishti and I am again here with the most important questions of your reasoning section which came in today's AFCAT paper that was held on 21st February 2021, that is today, and in both shift 1 and 2. So we will discuss what all questions were there from the reasoning section in your today's AFCAT exam paper. So it will be very much important for you to know because it will be very much helpful for you if you are appearing for the tomorrow's examination, right? Also, I have covered most important questions which appear from reasoning in yesterday's session, that was 20th February 2021 examination, and I hope you have gone through that session also and you are having a very good idea about what type of questions will be there from your upcoming examination, right? Also, if you are preparing for your upcoming AFCAT exam, do subscribe to our courses wherein which you will get video lectures, mock test, updated syllabus, offline access, rank analysis, study notes, study plans, live classes and much more. Okay, so it is the most powerful course and I believe me most of the questions were covered in the course itself. So if you have already gone through the course, it would be very much easy for you to attempt the paper of your AFCAT as most of the questions from all of the sections were covered in the courses itself. Okay. Along with the courses, you will also be provided with the mock test series wherein which you will get 10 mock tests along with the detailed analysis of each and every mock. So mocks are very important as they will give you the real-time analysis of how you should appear in your actual examination. Also, by analyzing your mocks, you can know about your weak and strong points and by working upon them, you can easily excel in your examination. Okay. Also, do not forget to apply the code Warrior10 for the extra 10% discount on all the courses, right? So now we'll move upon with the questions which appear in today's AFCAT examination. So firstly, we'll discuss the questions from shift 1 and the question which we have got from the students only. Okay, so these all questions are memory based and there can be slight twist of the changes in the question. So if there are anything like that, do let us know in the comment sections. Okay. So first question is to find the odd one out and the given options were red soil, anthracite, alluvial soil or black soil. Okay. So we know that red soil, alluvial soil and black soil are soil. Okay. It is given in the options itself. But what about anthracite? So anthracite is a type of coal. Okay. Which is made up of, like, it is a hard coal, right? So the odd one out here will directly be anthracite. Okay. Now coming upon to the next question. So next question is also from finding the odd one out and the given options were kangaroo, emu, Royal Bengal tigers or giant panda. Okay. See, here we directly know that kangaroo, Royal Bengal tigers and giant panda, all three are animals. Okay. But what about this emu, right? So emu is a bird. Also, it is the second largest living bird on the earth. Okay. So odd one out here will directly be your emu, right? Now coming upon to the next question. So in the next question, you have to find the odd one out from the given 4 pairs. Okay. So first pair is temperature is to Fahrenheit. Second one is distance is to meters. Then third one is to Newton is to force. Then luminance is to candela. Okay. So we know that the SI unit of distance is meter. SI unit of Newton, if force is Newton. Okay. And SI unit of luminance is candela. Right. So this option should be here like force is to Newton. Okay. But SI unit of temperature is not Fahrenheit, right? Because we know that SI unit of temperature is Kelvin. Okay. So correct answer here or the odd one out here will be temperature is to Fahrenheit. So correct answer will be option A. Okay. Now coming upon to the next question. So next question is which one is different, right? And the given options are Victoria, Superior, Nile or Michingan. Okay. So here Victoria, Superior and Michingan, all these three are lakes. Okay. but Nile, we know that Nile is the longest river in the world. So Nile is a river. So we can directly say that the odd one out here will be Nile. So correct answer is Nile here. Okay. Now coming upon to the next question. So next question is from analogy, and it states that if India is to lotus, then dash is to iris. Okay, so we know that the national flower of India is lotus. Similarly, we have to find out the country for which iris is the national flower. Okay, so this is analogy of country is to national flower. Okay, so iris is the national flower of France. So correct answer here will be France. Okay. Now coming upon to the next question. So next question is to find the Venn diagram, and the given terms are teacher, graduate and player. Okay. Now we know that some of the teachers are graduate and some may not be graduate. Okay. Why? Because anybody who is teaching something to someone is a teacher, right? So it is not mandatory that to be a teacher you have to be a graduate always. Okay. So some teachers can be graduate and some may not, right? Similarly, some graduates can be teacher and some graduates can be player, right? And in the same manner, some players can be graduate and some players might be a teacher. Okay. So, the Venn diagram or the most appropriate Venn diagram for these three given terms should be three intersecting circles like this. Okay. Where one is for teacher, one is for graduates and one is for players, right? So this should be the most expected answer for this question, and rest it depends upon the options given in the questions. Okay. Now coming upon to the next question, right? So in the next question, here is a page, chapter or book, right? So you have to find the Venn diagram and which is depicting the most appropriate relationship between page, chapter and a book. Okay. So here, firstly, we know that book is the larger thing, right? Now, book contains chapters, okay? So, book is a collection of many pages, and out of those pages, some of the pages will be having one chapter, some of the pages will be having two chapters, right? And chapter will be the smallest thing, right? So, I can take some of the pages like this, okay? So, completing all these pages, this will be a book. Okay. Now these three pages can comprise of one chapter, but this page is contained in the chapter. Okay. So the best Venn diagram here should be page should be the smallest unit, right? So it is contained in the circle of the chapters and chapters are contained in a book, right? So this should be the most appropriate answer for this question. Okay. Now coming up on to the next question, right? So next question is from the second shift, okay, and the question is something related to psychology, okay. So we have not got the exact question, but question demands you to know what the study of, like psychology is the study of what, okay. So I have already covered this question in the 300 most expected series of the reasoning part, and here we clearly know that psychology is the study of algae, okay, which is also known as algology, okay. Now coming upon to the next question. So in the next question, it is from finding the odd one out, and it is mosquito, earthworm, ant or beetle, okay. Now mosquito, ant and beetle are insects, right, but earthworm is a animal, okay. So this clearly states that earthworm will be the odd one out in the given group of 4 words. So correct answer here will directly be earthworm. Okay. Now coming upon to the next question. So next question is again from the Venn diagram, and it is wife, sister, mother. Okay. So a wife can be a sister also and can be a mother also. Okay. Similarly, a sister can be a wife also, or she can be a mother also. And the same goes for the mother, that a mother can be a sister also and she can be a wife also. Okay. Because a female is like playing the characters or the roles of many different members in the family at one time. Right. Also, males are also doing the same. Right. So, the correct diagram here will be 3 intersecting circles like this. Right. So, this will be the circle of wife, this will be for the sister and this will be for the mother. Okay, so this will be the most appropriate diagram for this particular one. Now coming upon to the next question. So next question is the Venn diagram of sparrow, bird and mice. Okay, now we know that sparrow is a bird, okay, but mice, okay, so female mouse, right? So mice is an animal, right? So it is not related to birds. So the Venn diagram here will be, this will be the circle of birds, then sparrow will be contained inside the circle of birds, but mice will have no connection with sparrow and bird. So this will be the circle of mice. Okay, so this will be the correct Venn diagram for this particular one. Now moving upon to the next one. So here you have to find the Venn diagram of eagle, aves and cat. Okay, now let me tell you that aves is one of the classes of birds. Okay, and we know that eagle is also a bird, right? But cat is an animal. Okay, so clearly we know that this will be the circle of aves. Then eagle, the circle of eagles will be contained inside the circle of aves, and the circle of cat will have no relation with the circle of aves and eagles. Okay, so this will be the best diagram depicting the relationship between the given three words. Okay, now coming upon to the next question, where you have to draw the Venn diagram of citizens, educated and humans. Okay, so one thing to note is that all the citizens are humans and all the educated are also humans. Okay, animals cannot be educated, right? So here firstly your main circle will be of humans. Okay, now we'll talk about citizens. Okay, see, if this is a particular region, okay, now people who are authorized to live in this region are known as the citizens. Okay, but someone who is illegally living in that area is not a citizen, but he is a human definitely. Okay, so here the circle of citizens will come inside the circles of humans. Okay, now some of the citizens can be educated or some of the citizens may not be educated. Okay, so here this will be the circle of educated. Okay, so this will be the best Venn diagram depicting the relationship between citizens, educated and humans. Okay, so now I hope all the questions that I have covered in this particular session are very much clear to you, and now you have got an idea about what type of questions are coming in the AFCAT exam and what type of questions you can expect in your upcoming exam. Okay, also let me tell you that most of the questions were repeated from our courses only and also from the 300 most expected series. Okay, also one of the most important thing is you will definitely get 5 questions from dot situations. Okay, and those type of questions I have already covered in the most expected 300 question series, and all the questions will be there in that series only. Okay, so if you have covered the questions of dot situations, you will definitely be able to attempt all the 5 questions in your examination. Okay, now there is one type of questions related to odd one out, where 4 words will be given to you but they will be jumbled. Okay, so firstly you will have to rejumble, or you will have to make a meaningful word from the jumbled letters, and then you have to find out which one is odd one out there. Okay, so you need to look at the words very carefully so that you can make a meaningful word from the given jumbled letters, and then can find out the odd one out from the given words. Okay, so this type of question has been repeated in most of the shifts, so you can expect this type of question in your upcoming exam also. Okay, also in the series part, the figure series part, there were questions related to rotation. Okay, so if you are not aware with the concept of rotation, you can go through the lectures which we have covered based upon figure series. There we have clearly mentioned the type of rotation, so how you can measure the rotation, right? So this type of question was something like this. Okay, so after that it was rotated by an angle of 45 degree, then again by an angle of 45 degree, right? So there was a rotation of angle of 45 degree, and you can expect by following the same pattern the missing term in the series. Okay, so this type of questions were very common, or we have also covered most of the questions in the 300 most expected series. So please go through that series if you are having your exam tomorrow, that is on 22nd of February. Also, if you are preparing for your upcoming AFCAT exam, do subscribe to our courses, as it will be very much easy for you to attempt the paper after going through the courses. Okay. Also, do follow us on the social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Telegram, as it will be very much helpful, as we are sharing very useful content with all the fellow aspirants, so that they can learn and and can do better in their examination. So all the very best. Stay tuned to SSB Crack Exams. I hope the dreams of all of you will come true very soon, right? So stay healthy, stay happy, stay motivated. Jai Hind.